The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
John Messinho on Marlon Pack.
I thought Marlon was brilliant on Saturday. Our best player. He came on and showed the way. We talk about the frustration of conceding that second goal, but once we actually started to find the players further forward through Marlon, we were better. He was excellent. He was in pre-season, to be honest. Then he picked up his knee injury before the Oxford United game. He was very close to starting that. He's certainly not finished. I don't know what role he has to play here for the rest of the season, but if he keeps playing like that, it is a very significant one. And even if he doesn't keep playing like that, it's still a very significant role. You know what I think of Marlon? He is amazing to have around.
What we're looking at with Pack's extraordinary, was it half an hour, 20 minutes, 25 minutes on the pitch against Ipswich? What we're looking at here is a question of mentality. It's not a question of athleticism or even footballing ability. It's attitude, mentality. And Pack had the right attitude and mentality in buckets. Now, does this reflect badly on some of the other men in white shirts on this occasion, the Pompey? Not particularly, because when you're 2-0 down against a team that is brimful of multi-million pound players, I think you're entitled to say, well, this one has slipped away from us. I'm not going to I'm not going to go 101% on this now because it's a lost cause today, and I think it's only realistic to accept that. This is the sort of thing that flashes through players' gamut of emotions rather than their actual sort of academic, intellectual process. They don't stand on the pitch, hands on hips, and think these things out loud to themselves. It's just a feeling that comes over them that I think quite a few Pompey players, we won a goal down in 9 minutes, was it? And then the second goal went in, and I think some people were thinking, I wonder what I'm going to have for tea tonight, kind of thing. And I know you say, and I say too, these men are professionals. They're being paid an awful lot of money to do their job to the very best of their ability from the first whistle to the final whistle. But to disregard the importance of human emotion in all of this is frankly naive and ill-informed. So when you see Marlon Pack coming on with things to prove to everybody, including his own God, whoever that may be, then you see a player who is playing out of his skin. And then you see a player who is being a fantastic example to the rest of his colleagues on the pitch. Then you see a player who is sending inch perfect 40, 50-yard diagonal passes out to the left wing. Having a go at goal from 50 yards out. Scoring a towering header, an absolute textbook centre-forwards header was that. I think Colby Bishop would have been hugely proud to have made the contact there, to have got to the ball in the first place, and then make that kind of thumping header content with 90 seconds to go. 90 seconds to go. Was it worth it? Of course it was worth it. Of course. There was next to no chance that we would get an equaliser. But what was happening was that the team was starting to become the team that won League One. The team that in the last eighth of last season came seriously good, and we were spared a relegation worry with 2 games to go. Now, the last 20 minutes against Ipswich, we had Marlon Pack doing that for us, running the physical and the emotional engine of Portsmouth. Will we see him against Watford? Will he start against Watford's? Yes, they're multimillionaires as well, but which is another reason why we need him. So will he start? What's that phrase? De bears do you know what in the woods?
John Messinho opened up about his decision to start Mark Kusnowski on the right wing against Ipswich, admitting it wasn't the Hungarian's natural position, but defending the choice to give him his first championship start. The move raised some eyebrows, especially with Florian Bianchini seemingly a more obvious pick, but Messinho backed his selection after the 2-1 defeat. Kusnowski was one of 5 changes made following the team's poor showing against Sheffield Wednesday. While primarily an attacking midfielder who made his Pompey debut as a number 10 against Reading in the Carabao Cup, Kusnowski has previous experience on the right from his days at MTK Budapest. Messinho felt confident the summer signing could handle the role. Mark's put in the work at training and shown real quality when he's come on as sub, Mousinho said. With Franco, Murph and Harvey all injured, our options are limited right now. Mark earned his chance with his attitude and application, and I thought he gave everything out there on Saturday, even in an unfamiliar position. The team had to shuffle things around with Connor Chaplin unavailable against his parent club Ipswich. Adrian Segicic moved into the number 10 spot, while Bianchini dropped to the bench after struggling against Sheffield Wednesday. Yang Min-york got his first championship start on the left wing. The injury crisis hasn't helped matters, with Josh Murphy, ankle, Franco Ume hamstring and Callum Lang hamstring all sidelined, though Harvey Blair is close to returning to full fitness. Pompey have tried various players on the right this season, including Lang, Devlin, Segicic, and Bianchini. Joe Devlin, usually a right back, has filled in there against Reading and Southampton. Looking ahead to Wednesday's home game against Watford, Mousinho hopes to have Murphy back available, though he'll likely feature on the left rather than the right wing.
The gap in the lineup, which we had against Ipswich and which we will have against Watford, is so glaringly obvious you don't have to have slept in the knife drawer to notice that we are very light when it comes to the right side up front, the right side of our team up front. It was a cruel blow losing Callum Lang because he had performed so well there, even though he's not an outside right. But he has what it takes to make the job his own. Oh, if we'd had 5 million to spend on Abu Kamara. But we didn't. And so we make the best of what we've got. And we've tried a few options. And we may well go to a new option against Watford. Certainly if we've got Josh Murphy back, of course, on the left, of course. Does that mean that Yang Min-york goes up front on the right? He looked pretty good to start with against Ipswich, kind of faded a little bit. They were clearly having a bit of a go at him. He's not the biggest player on the pitch, but he's got some good turns. And when he thought he was being manhandled, he turned and he stood up for himself, and we like that. I mean, he's on loan from Spurs, and there's talk of him being a world-class player soon. And he was prepared to risk it. He was prepared to risk, I don't know what. A fight wasn't going to break out. But he gave it a little bit of yeah, to that Ipswich midfielder who was actually just, he was a little bit physical and didn't get pulled up for it. So up front against Watford, let's hope against hope that Josh Murphy is back. And then it will be really interesting to see what kind of permutation John Mousinho presents us and, of course, the players with next time out.
Pompey women suffered a heartbreaking 3-2 defeat to Ipswich at the JobServe Community Stadium, letting slip a hard-fought lead in a drama-filled WSL2 clash. After Rhianna Dean put the hosts ahead, Angelina Nixon drew Pompey level before Ava Robotham fired them into the lead. But their joy was short-lived, as Natasha Thomas equalised in controversial fashion, and Paige Peake's penalty sealed the win for Ipswich. Jay Sadler made just one tweak to the team that beat Sheffield United last time out, bringing in Sophie Barker for Jessie Gale. The switch didn't last long though, as an early injury to Emma Jones saw Gale back in action after just 3 minutes. Pompey showed early promise when Izzy Collins teed up Robotham, but Natalia Negri was equal to the effort. The host struck first blood midway through the half, Dean glancing home Sophie Peskett's cross. The visitors' luck seemed to worsen when Barker limped off before the break, though her replacement Nixon made an instant impact, nearly scoring with a long-range effort before finally finding the net with a stunning solo run and finish into the top corner. After the break, Pompey came out firing. Some slick play between Gale and Nixon created a chance for Georgie Freeland, but Negri gathered comfortably. The visitors' pressure paid off when Robotham hammered home a half volley from Hornby's partially cleared free kick. Then came the controversy. Seconds after Pompey's goal, Peskett went down on the right wing. Despite the referee appearing to blow for a free kick, play continued and Thomas headed home Peskett's cross, leaving Pompey's players fuming as the goal stood. Ipswich grabbed the winner with 10 minutes left, Peake converting from the spot after Collins' challenge on Peskett. despite debutant Ella Rutherford nearly snatching a point with a shot that rattled the woodwork. Ipswich held on to climb off the bottom of the table.
I'm afraid we didn't see the game, but we have it from the official reports circulating. We've looked at both what the East Anglia Daily Times has to say about the women's game, and also Ipswich versus Pompey, and also what the official Pompey website has to say about the game. In Ipswich, they're keeping very quiet about this controversy, which leads me to think that there's something in it. The website, Pompey website, fleshes it out a little bit more. I mean, the Ipswich newspapers don't even say what the controversy was, just that there was a controversy surrounding Ipswich's third goal. But they don't say what it was, which leads you to think that they didn't want to go there. However, the Pompey website is a little bit more, I'm going to say accurate, honest in its reportage. And what happened, as you just heard, is that there was a foul, or at least there could have been a foul given, but the referee sort of played advantage, having, and this is the word that's used on the Pompey website, having apparently blown his whistle. Apparently. What does that mean? If the Pompey players stopped because they thought the whistle had gone, then they were only doing that thing. One of the basics that you're taught when you start playing the game is play to the whistle. If no whistle, keep playing. It doesn't work the other way around. If there is a whistle, keep playing. I can only guess, speculate. The referee thought about blowing the whistle and gave it the beginnings of a toot, then noticed that there was an advantage to be played, and would have done that thing that they all do when they want play to continue, which is to rush forward very animatedly with their arms stretched out and slightly forward. But if a goal comes as a result of the defence standing or slowing down or losing their concentration because they thought they've heard the whistle and it would have been a valid whistle because clearly there was an infringement of some sort, well, I don't know what you do as a referee. You've blown the whistle and you didn't mean to. Or maybe it was just your puff. If you run around as a referee with your whistle in your mouth, which I believe they say you shouldn't do, and modern whistles have those handles on them anyway, so you'd look a fool. You'd look like a farmyard duck. But anyway, a tricky one for the ref, a tricky one for the newspapers to report. Pompey website, I think, did the best job of the lot by explaining what the controversy was and by using the guarded phrase, apparently, as opposed to saying that the referee did indeed blow his whistle. They used that gender, so I assume it was a male referee. So, interesting. And Pompey women are having a reasonable start to the season. And of course, we always say, whenever we get to talk about Pompey women, what a good job Jay is doing at running that outfit. So, nice little bit of controversy there. Unfortunately, we came out on the wrong end of it.
The 72 have had a measure of success predicting Pompey results. Here they have a punt on the Watford game. Harry Mayles says, Portsmouth will see this game as an opportunity to get back to winning ways. Pompey have seen their form slump a bit recently. They have lost their last 2 games in a row. John Mousinho's side are also winless in their last 3 outings. Watford needed their win over Hull City last time out. That result has eased some pressure off Paolo Pezzolano. They will need to back it up with a positive result at Fratton Park though. However, I think these two will cancel each other out though and draw. Prediction: Portsmouth 1, Watford 1. James Ray says. Back-to-back defeats have put a bit of a dampener on what had been a positive start to the season for Portsmouth. However, I don't think they've got anything to worry about, and I think they could get back to winning ways here. Watford produced a much improved second-half performance to come from behind against Hull City, but there's still a lot for Paolo Pezzolano to work on. I do think the talent is there in his Hornets group, but I'm not convinced they can show it consistently yet. Prediction: Portsmouth 1, Watford 0.
The 72's a good news agency, football news agency, but a feature that they seem now to always run 48 hours before a Pompey game is they get their 2 key football experts, Harry Mayle and James Ray, to do a couple of paragraphs and then predict the score. And going back in my head, they've often come close, Harry Mayle got it spot on against Ipswich, predicting a 2-1 win for Ipswich. So he's certainly worth listening to a second time round. And he's gone Pompey 1, Watford 1. Would we settle for that? And that's a good question for you, gentle listener. Would you settle for a draw against Watford? Start accumulating a few points like that? It wouldn't be a bad result, would it? After 3 straight defeats. Of course, that's what you're taking into consideration. So fingers crossed there's something in Harry Mayle's prediction yet again for Wednesday's game.